Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 29 of Logicast, the AWS News podcast brought to you by Logicata. I'm Carl Robinson, CEO and co-founder of Logicata, and I'm joined today by not quite black belt karate aficionado, lead cloud engineer, John Goodall, but I believe you have been taking some gradings in your karate, John.
Sort of. I'm ninth Q, which is like the first grade you can get.
So is that not a belt then?
It's a white belt with a yellow tag on it in this flavor of karate. I say flavor because there's like 75 different versions, something silly. I've got another one coming up at the end of August for a yellow belt, which is, again, not exactly very advanced. It's just you can throw a punch and throw a kick and not hurt yourself and shout at the right times.
So it's not quite solutions architect professional level of karate proficiency then?
No, but the exam's about the same length of time.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah. So John's going to be a karate practitioner now.
Absolutely.
Well, I am one, technically, already.
And today we are delighted to be joined for the second time on the podcast by fellow AWS community builder, I believe, and AWS ambassador, and sporting his AWS gold jacket, Nicholas Westerströler. How are you doing today, Nicholas?
I'm doing great, Carl. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Great to see the jacket this time, because I think the last time you came on, it was hidden away in a cupboard somewhere.
Yeah, I had to dig it up and all of that. But now that it's one of those days or events where you can actually kind of wear it with pride, and like always put it on if you can do that.
And I have to say, as responsible podcasters, we have done a risk assessment on Nicholas wearing his gold jacket on today's episode. He does have air conditioning at home, so he's not going to pass out due to the lack of breathability that I would imagine those gold. I've never worn one, but doesn't look like the most technical fabric.
It's terrible, like wearing this when you try wearing it at reInvent or any event where there's a lot of people. It gets hot and you're sweating so badly underneath that you just.
But then you can't take it off.
No,
then you can't take it off. Exactly. Once you get to that stage, you can't take it off. Yeah. But anyway, other than sporting your gold jacket, what else have you been up to, Nicholas, since the last time you came on the podcast?
I started with a new client, doing a lot of interesting stuff with AWS. Our family grew by one person, so that's taking a lot of time and a lot of sleepless nights. But so that's, I guess, the biggest thing.
Yeah, excellent. And what is the total number of the family now if it grew by one?
If you count the dog, then it's 4.
Okay, so first child.
Yep.
Congratulations again then. And we know you're not the only Gold Jacket podcast guest to have recently had their first child. I'm not going to mention it in case it's private, but we can discuss that off air.
Yep.
I think you're probably roughly on a roughly the same trajectory, both in terms of your AWS certifications and your family planning.
Yep. And I think we had a certification-related item coming up today, so we'll see there.
Absolutely. Well, that's something that you might need to do to retain your gold jacket status.
We'll see.
Anyway, as regular listeners to the podcast will know, we're not here to talk about gold jackets and family planning. We are here to talk about AWS news. And once a week, I curate a list of AWS news, which I share via my weekly AWS News Roundup newsletter. And then John picks a selection of the articles that we'd like to talk about with our guests. So we have, of course, shared such a selection of articles with Nicholas this week. And the first one, we spoke briefly about this on the podcast last week, but we didn't go into any great detail about it. This was the announcement that the AWS Free Tier has had a pretty major overhaul recently. So you may have seen this in the press. I think it actually happened on the 17th of July that the new Free Tier came into effect. So now, in addition to the always free services, you now get credits with your new AWS accounts as well. So John, tell us a little bit more about the new AWS Free Tier.
Well, you've got your dates wrong because it was on the 15th. And the
reason I thought it was the 17th. Yeah.
And the reason that we didn't go into great detail on it was because the last episode, people seeing behind the curtain. I don't know how I feel about this. These aren't live, folks. We record these ahead of time and put them out there. So we recorded the last episode on the 14th, and I think we published it on the 15th or the 16th, something like that. So the news broke, but it hadn't sort of gone live. So it was all a little bit, this is happening tomorrow, and this is what we think it's going to look like, and so on and so on. Now we have some official stuff as of the 15th. So the previous way free tier worked, and we'll touch on the differences and what it means in a minute, was you had some always free stuff. That's not changing, right? Your free tier for Lambda, for CloudWatch, for whatever, that's staying, okay? That's not changing. Cool, wonderful, because that's a lot of the free tier that I care about, because I'm running production workloads and I don't care that stuff costs money, but I need to factor that into my bill calculations and what an architecture looks like and so on. Then there was some free for 12 months stuff, first time in an account or first time in an org, where the first, when you stood up a new account, previously you got 730 hours per month of a T2 micro and 8 gig of storage or something of that nature. I don't remember the exact number, but it meant that you could run a server with some storage for free, and you got bits and pieces of other free stuff free for a year, and combine that with the always free stuff, and you could run some interesting workloads and not pay a lot or not pay anything. But it did encourage some interesting practices to sort of stay within these free tiers. So using things with data stores that aren't really meant for it and that kind of thing. What it looks like now is slightly different. And this is an admission, I think, from AWS, and I'm parroting Corey Quinn a little bit, but he's hit the nail on the head here. This is an admission from AWS that their old way of doing things didn't work. Otherwise, why would they have changed it? Yeah, because there was a free tier, there was a free offering, but it didn't work. It didn't work very well. The way it works now is when you first sign up for an account. So if you have an organization and you're vending accounts within Control Tower or whatever, this doesn't apply to you. Okay. This is when you sign up for a new account with your credit card. You get a new screen that says, what plan do you want? And you have a free option and a paid option. The paid option is pretty well as it was before, but the free for 12 month stuff is gone. You don't have that anymore. That doesn't exist. The free for 6 month stuff, you receive up to $200 in credits. So you get $100 right off the bat. And then by doing a number of other things, you can get another $100 in credits, I think. Yeah, so it's $100 to start with, and then another $20 for each of these 5 things that you do, giving you up to a total of 100. So turn on an EC2, start a database, build a basic Lambda, do some stuff with Bedrock, and set a budget. And these are all largely, I don't know about the Bedrock thing, but I get the AI thing. These are all largely things that you're going to want to know how to do anyway. So cool, they're rewarding you for doing the thing that, that you should probably know how to do. And you can have another, $100 in credits in total. So you can have $200 in credits in total for signing up for an account and doing 5 reasonably simple things. And the budget one you should have done anyway. So cool, thanks. I'll have $20 for doing the thing that you meant to. That lasts for 6 months, and if you do nothing, the default behavior is it cancels everything and the account goes away. That is absolutely the correct decision as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. If you want to, if you've built your little blog or whatever, and it's been running on credits, and you get to the end of 6 months and you decide that you want to keep running it and you're happy to pay, then you can upgrade to a paid account. But if you don't actively do that, they won't remind you to do it. Okay. The account just goes away. I think that's correct. I'd like to see more notifications, I think, coming out of AWS for, by the way, this is going to die in 2 weeks or whatever. But this is generally good. Like I say, this is an admission that it didn't work before. This is better. I don't think this is perfect, but this is absolutely going to stop I'm a student developer and I signed up for an account. Now I've got $1,000 bill and I've got no idea how to pay for it because I started doing some things in some services that I didn't really understand. In this new way, not all services are, you can't get access to everything. So I don't think you can get access to the really expensive stuff like SageMaker and what have you. And you probably can't make reserved instances either because you're on credits and that kind of thing. So why would you kind of want to or need to? But this is good. Generally, I like this. And this is worth as much airtime as we can give it because it's just a much more developer-friendly way of doing things. And again, I'm parroting Corey a little bit here, but again, nail on the head. The experience of someone coming up with a surprise $1,000 bill means maybe they can afford it, maybe support will write it off, whatever, but they're not going to use the platform again, right? AWS are going to make their money by developers, and this is how they made their money to begin with. This is how they got mass adoption to begin with, was being developer-friendly, and this is much more friendly.
What are your thoughts, Nicholas? Have you ever had a
Yes.
surprise AWS bill in a sandbox?
Well, not really. No surprises for me like that. I've been always kind of financially aware of how things are in the cloud and what do they cost. But I do see this as a kind of a better direction. I read somewhere, I can't find it right now, that they actually send you some emails, but I think those were like emails after your free account has been closed. You have, I believe it was 90 days to switch to the paid plan if you want to have that back. So you kind of, they don't automatically delete that day one when the account closes. So that's kind of a good thingy. So you can, even if they don't tell you that you're running out in a few days, then you have the option of paying and having your data. But AWS has had like with the old free tier, people are just creating new accounts and having like riding that free tier. So I kind of understand why they would go to a shorter amount of time, and as well as kind of deleting the free accounts, because now if you have a free account and you're not using it, it still stays there, and in the end you're running out of that 12-digit account ID at some point, because they just stay there. So I think it's good, and I kind of like the aspect of kind of gamified learning type of thing. I love gamified learning, so game days and all of those. So this is kind of forcing you to do the same. They're boring small tasks that you're forced to do to kind of try out something that you may not have thought that you'd ever need, and maybe that will give you new ideas and new ways of using AWS. I think it's a good twist.
Just going to put a couple of points of clarification because I've re-skimmed the article now. So in terms of the notifications, there's two ways that these accounts can expire. You can get to the end of 6 months and they will send you an email when you are 15, 7 and 2 days from the end of that. So they do tell you, but I'm really bad at reading my emails. And the other way that you can expire these accounts is if you run out of free credits. Okay, so if you run out of your $200 of credits, they send you an email at 50%, 25% and 10%. And then when you get to the end of that, again, the account gets closed. You do have the 90 days, which is pretty standard for a normal AWS account. So if you've ever closed accounts within organizations, they hang around for 90 days and then they actually get closed and you can get them reopened. So that's kind of normal still. But obviously, if you have been cut off, anything that was serving is going to not be serving anymore. IP addresses and things may have changed. So keep an eye on your emails. But this is, I love this so much.
And what if you get more credits? Can those be applied to the free account?
No, I don't think so. But what does happen is if you upgrade your free account to a paid account, those $200 of credits are valid for 12 months rather than 6. And then you can put more credits on. No, exactly. So if you get 3 months in and decide, cool, this blog's working really well for me, I'm getting traffic and it's doing what I want, or whatever workload it is that you've stood up, you can flip it into a paid for account so it doesn't get binned for you at the end of the period, but your credits that you are still using don't just go away. And then you can add more credits because it's reasonably easy to come across AWS credits if you're in, if you're going to events and doing that sort of thing. It's reasonably easy.
If you spin the wheel of fortune on the community booth at the summit, for example, or become an AWS community builder, or do other stuff, attend user
or go to your local user group and ask very nicely because sometimes they have some credits going spare. Sometimes, no promises.
Have we got?
Yeah, you can.
No,
use
not right now, but I might ask for some.
And $100 gets you quite a long way, or if you're using just a little bit, like my own account that I've been using, it's pretty much been skimming by with just credits. So only pay for some stuff that cannot be paid with credits, like domain registration. But
that one annoys me.
Other than that, if you're not using a lot, you can get by with $100 a year easy.
The domain reg thing annoys me. I know it's because they're a broker, not actually part of the ICANN register and all the rest of it. But I wanted to move all of my domains off of third-party ones and stick it in AWS and use my CB credits to pay for it, and I can't do that. That annoys me.
They're not that expensive though in AWS. I don't think.
No,
registrators are they? So it's,
No, but you can't get the buy this for 3 years and get the .com for a penny type deals.
Fair enough. Okay, well, on that note, let's move on to our second article for this week. And we alluded to this one being about certification. Obviously, Nicholas, no stranger to certification. He's done them all. Don't know if but maybe he hasn't done this one because it's a new one, or at least it's an evolution of an existing exam. It's an article from the AWS Training Certification blog. The title is Coming Soon, Exam Update and New Name for Cloud Operations Certification. So the SysOps Administrator, which I did proudly hold once and then didn't renew it, has now been changed to the AWS
Not yet.
Certified.
September.
It is now being changed to the AWS Certified Cloud Ops Engineer. Why are they telling us this already? I guess because if you want to get the SysOps, do it now before September, before the exam changes. Nicholas, I'll come to you first on this, being the most experienced certified person here. What are your thoughts on this? Obviously, you've done SysOps Administrator along with all the other certifications.
Yeah, well, there's only one thing here that I don't like the SysOps term, that changing, that's just 2 thumbs up. I mean, the cloud engineer makes kind of more sense. But as someone who has all the certifications, it's really annoying how they're changing it. They're changing it, and they're not awarding that to us who already have the certificate. Because how I see it is that because when you do the DevOps Engineer Professional one, the underlying certificate always recertifies. So I get extended for just doing the Pro one. Now, if I want to have this Cloud Ops Engineer one, I actually have to go sit it. And after that, the DevOps Engineer will again kind of refresh that. So if I had been AWS, I would have just changed the name and kept it like that. But I kind of understand they're adding items into the tests, like scenarios from containers are in scope now, and some other like new items that are coming from the SME program. And I just hate that they're kind of making me do one more. But other than that, it makes a lot of sense to just change the name and add a little bit of additional skills into the exam.
Yeah, this is an odd one for me because it's not unusual for AWS to, refresh exams, right? The version of SysOps that's going away is the second version of it, possibly even the third version of it, because once upon a time there was actually a console element to it, and they got rid of that after adding it in, right? And the Solutions Architect Associate is on its third version as well. So this is a bit of an odd one because the exam code is changing from SOA CO2 to SOA CO3. So you'd think that's just a normal refresh, but they've changed the name above it. Okay, fine. SysOps is a bit of an odd term, and I always thought it was an odd term. CloudOps makes a bit more sense. Cool. As you say, they've changed some of the content of the exam, but again, that's not unusual in an exam refresh. Maybe it's just a big enough change to warrant it being a sort of new exam, like 50% new. I don't know. I don't know how big of a change that is. The changes make sense. And yeah, I'm a bit miffed about that kind of, you have to pass the second one as well. I'm not targeting a gold jacket, so I don't particularly care, but I'm in the same boat in that I hold SysOps now, I hold DevOps as well. Just refreshing, just passing DevOps again refreshes SysOps. That's not going to change. So if you don't care about holding gold jackets, and I don't particularly, it doesn't really matter because the one underneath it is going to keep getting refreshed. The SysOps exam is going to keep getting refreshed, but you're not going to earn the new CloudOps by passing DevOps. So you have to go and pass CloudOps, and then so long as you pass DevOps again before SysOps expires, you can continue to hold both of them, which is really funny. But yeah, I don't quite understand why they've done that.
Yeah, I don't either. But then again, I don't think I will be recertifying everything afterwards. So now I have a few year period when I can hold the jacket. After that, it's just, I got it once, but it's not really valid anymore.
What are the rules around that then? The jacket, because obviously you achieve all 12, 13, however many certs there are within a 3-year period, and you are awarded the gold jacket. What happens when your certs start to lapse? Do you have to hand it back? Is it like an honesty
No,
thing? You
I
should
don't
just stop
think
wearing it,
anybody's.
or feel like a fraud if you do wear it. Or how does that
There's
work?
no written rule about that, and I think that
Mm,
it's up to you. There's
mm.
nobody's ever said to me that you can't wear that after your first certificate expires. So don't know. We'll see how things go and what I do after that. But I think that it's a statement that I've once been able to do this. Of course, somebody else would think of it differently, and they would say that no, you have to have all active to
Mm.
wear that. And well,
Maybe
we'll have it.
fork.
There will be interesting discussions in the future when people do that. But then again, nobody's gonna ask you to show your certification IDs. Like you're wearing
No,
the
they'll just.
jacket. That's it.
Where's your Credly account?
I was going to
Show
say
it to me now.
they're just going to go and search on Credly and have a look and see if you see if you've still got all the certs. You're a fraud for wearing that gold jacket. Yeah. Anyway, on that note, let's move on from certifications and gold jackets to AI and AI coding, I believe. So a big fanfare around this announcement last week. This particular article is on CRN, but there's pretty much in all of the trade press last week that AWS have launched Kiro, which I believe is a new AI coding assistant. This particular article goes into 5 key features of the new Kiro coding tool. So, John, thoughts on Kiro? Are you as excited about it as the press seems to be?
No, but then I'm never excited as the press seems to be because they overhype everything to sell clicks.
True. Yeah, true.
Capitalism aside, I have no idea about Kiro. I've not looked at it at all. This is not one for me particularly. Vibe coding is a bit of an odd thing to me generally. I sort of understand it. Like you sit there and you get the agent to kind of spit things out and stand up a project and sort of all the rest of it. I've never done it because I'm an engineer and I have a job to do, which isn't playing with these things. I have actual things to go and build, and things to pontificate about as well. So I haven't really done any of this. I do use quite a lot of AI these days for. It's almost like IntelliSense plus a bit. So it's line completion and tell me how this works and that kind of thing. But yeah, I've never used Kiro before, so I've got really no idea about this one. I do know that it's currently in beta, I think. So I don't know if it's going to become chargeable or how that's going to work, how it's going to what that's going to look like. I don't know.
It's in preview at the moment, and preview is free. And actually earlier today or yesterday, they actually closed that preview, or you can be waitlisted for that. So there's not enough capacity basically in the background to serve all the interest. But I was a part of the closed beta for it, so I had the pleasure of taking a look earlier, and kind of it's a fork from Visual Studio, so it kind of feels familiar for a lot of people. How does it work? And it will create you kind of more than your vibe coding type of setup. It will give you requirements, design document, and the tasks kind of, and builds a little bit more like from spec type of approach into what you're building. I'm not a software engineer myself either. Most of my AI use is like help me out with my Terraform type of items, and more along the lines of those, or coding some lambdas or whatever I want to do. So I should do more, but since I've got the kid now, it's been a little bit of not that much time for me to do it either. But there is what I want to point out. There is a competition right now going out with Kiro. You can win, I think it was $100,000 for the winner of the kind of use it to make something really cool, and then post about that and put it publicly, and you can win 100,000. So that's something that maybe some of you guys listening in will want to take advantage of. So head to kiro.dev and download or waitlist for access to it and start building. Under the hood, it's using the basic anthropic models. So it's the same as others, but it's pretty good in my opinion. And I think there was some talk about the paid tiers. Maybe I saw it at somewhere. Can't find it right now, but I think there was a few tiers, like depending on how much you use it, for $20 or $40 per user, around those numbers. But of course, if you're a really heavy user, doing AI is not free, even though it should be like, I want AI to be free for everybody, just do whatever you want, but somebody has to pay for it. So
cool. Well, watch your space. Perhaps your kid will end up using it before you do, Nicholas.
well, probably.
They catch on quick, this new generation.
Well, what we all do for a living now didn't exist what it looks like now 10 years ago, and didn't exist at all 20 years ago. So
yeah, exactly. It does have quite a cool logo. I'm sure there will be Kiro ghost stickers available at reInvent and a summit near you.
if it's a ghost, is that Kiro?
No, it could well be. Yeah.
Could
Had
be.
to be done. Had to be done.
Yeah, and it's that I haven't seen the terms and conditions for that competition. Is the $100,000 AWS buying the rights to your amazing business idea that you've coded in Kiro and running with it?
Ooh, can't remember. I'd have to read it in the background to
nobody reads those things.
Remember what it was, but I just know there is a competition.
Hang on,
Cool.
let me find it. So, unprecedented demand. There's a hackathon.
Yeah,
you
the
can
hackathon.
Build productivity and workflow tools, or games, or educational apps, or anything else. You have to build it from scratch. It has to use agent hooks. You have to do a video that talks about it. It has to do certain things. There's various requirements. There's a whole bunch of official rules. It's 100,000 in prizes. That's not 100,000 total. So you can't win 100 grand. You can win a share of 100 grand. Okay. First place, 30 grand.
30.
Yeah. First place is 30 grand. Second place is 15. Third place is 10. And then there's some other categories as well that give you 5 or 2 or 1 or a couple of hundred, so there's just because you don't think you're the best developer,
so it's not credits.
So just because you don't think you're the best developer in the world, there's some bonus blog prizes, and 100 people will win $100. So just give it a punt. I think once you can actually get in the wait list.
I think John's talking himself into it, and I'm sure he's signed up to the wait list as we're talking.
I don't need $100 that badly.
No Steam Deck tonight. Vibe coding for John.
But you can be innovative. You can win the most innovative use prize too.
Yeah, that will pay for the repointing of the side of my house. Just watch.
But I do recommend people try it out. It's kind of
you can get on it.
Intuitive. It's a good thing.
Cool. Okay, well, on that note, let's move on from Kiro to an article on cybersecurity news about another breach, basically. So this one's all about AWS organizations management. Let me start again and put my teeth in. This is all about an AWS organization's misscoped managed policy, which let hackers take full AWS organizational control. So basically, a dodgy AWS managed policy is how I'm reading that, which has been compromised by hackers. So thoughts on this, John? And
I'm not too worried about this, to be really honest. AWS have a reasonably good track record of finding these things themselves, or someone else finding them, and they fix them really quickly. Okay. And this is not the sort of, we've checked the logs that we have available and we only keep them for 30 days. And this hasn't, but when you see things like this, AWS have a habit of saying, we've checked the logs of this service since they existed, and, have found no problems with this. This particular one is interesting because we do this actually quite a bit. So registering a delegated administrator. So you set up an organization, right? Let's start from there. You set up an organization, you've got a fan out of a few accounts. You, by and large, don't want your management or master or payer or whatever you want to call it, that first account you set up. You don't want that to be doing anything. because that account is really hard to do anything in terms of locking it down. Yeah, you can't apply SCPs to it. It's really hard to kind of lock anything down in that account. So you generally don't want to use it if you can help it. How do you then kind of do things at an organization-wide level? Well, you register a delegated administrator. So for things like Security Hub or Inspector or Guard Duty, in this case, you register a delegated administrator account, and that's a different account. And what that means is your backup service is being looked after in a different place to your security tools, to a different place to your logging, to your whatever. In this particular case, there was a improperly scoped permission within the managed policy that grants the registered delegated administrator action, but you could do it with unrestricted resource access. So what that effectively meant was if you got into an account and then managed to get a role that had access to do that, and that's fairly senior anyway, okay, so you've already got problems, you could then register any account within the org as a delegated admin. So you didn't have to be in the same account. You could register a different account to the one that you're in as delegated admin, which you've compromised one account, you've compromised something else a little bit more, and then you can just grant yourself more permissions for lots of services, was the way I'm reading this. This is a problem. This is a real problem, but AWS has already fixed it. So I'm not overtly worried about this. These things happen. Security is not infallible. No service is infallible. But they've fixed it with a stricter resource constraint and the escalation path's gone. So if you've got any managed policies that are still using the old version, go and update them. But otherwise, I wouldn't be too worried.
Yeah, that's actually really weird how they updated it in my mind. Because how they actually did that, I took a look at it. They created a new managed policy with a _v2 attached to it. So if you're using the old policy, they didn't touch that at all. So you really need to go and review your environment and change that managed policy to the new version. It's they didn't change it in the background themselves, which is what I would have expected them to do. It's an AWS managed policy. They should just have the balls to remove that resource star and put the guard
I would have
duty
expected it to be
there.
some sort of. I would expect it to be guarded against some sort of backwards compatibility issue that they may be aware of, which sort of makes sense. But I largely agree, right? And for the listeners' benefit, the policy is Amazon Guard Duty Full Access. So go look at that one. We don't use that, fortunately. Before you ask, Carl, so no, I don't have to worry about this one. But if any of the listeners have kind of used that policy, go and sort your roles out.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people use that role, maybe, but I haven't run into in our environments like anybody
I would
using
expect
that
it to
role.
be in.
But
Yeah, I would expect it to be in larger security teams. I would think larger org security teams, guard duty full access. It's a weird one though, because it gives you a lot of permissions within guard duty that you don't tend to need if you don't also need other administrative rights. So
yeah.
So, John, you could obviously see a question on the tip of my tongue, but that wasn't it. You didn't preempt it. My question was, is this not the sort of thing that AWS would notify you that you need to update? Because I guess they know who is using that policy. Is it the sort of thing you might get a notification from support to say, by the way, you're using this policy, you ought to update it?
I'd be surprised if they didn't. The article doesn't say one way or another, but I'd be surprised if they didn't. I mean, we've had that for previous things, not for security issues, but where like CloudWatch full access got a V2 and then V2 got rolled back because there was a problem. You did get a whole bunch of notifications through your AWS account. So maybe you don't get an email if you don't have your alternate contact set. But if you've got a security contact on your account set, I would expect them to email you about this. But go look, you know, if you're listening to me and you haven't got an email, go and check anyway.
Cool. Okay. Well, on that note, let's move along to our final article for this week. And this is something else which has been getting an awful lot of press right across the trade press every time it happens, because it does happen on a fairly regular basis, probably maybe once a quarter, once every 6 months. But Amazon's having another round of layoffs, which is also affecting AWS. And this is an article on Reuters claiming that at least hundreds of jobs are being cut by AWS in this latest round of layoffs. So thoughts on this? Is this AI taking people's jobs, or as is the fear in the out there in the world, or something else?
AI taking people's jobs. I don't know. Maybe it's the power bill for all the AI taking people's jobs.
Yeah.
This kind of sounds a little bit like click news type of thing in a way, because if Amazon employs 1.6 million people, which sounds like an insane amount of people, then if you're cutting hundreds of jobs, even if you're cutting thousands of jobs, it's a tiny amount of people. Now it just happened to hit a function that is somehow AWS cloud related, and you want to put it out there. So I don't see this as a AI doing and killing people's jobs. I think there's something else in the background as well. Sure, AI might be a factor in this, but this is what's going to happen with AI. Like, people are gonna lose their jobs for a while, and then people or the businesses will understand that AI wasn't the solution, and they'll hire back people. At least for me, I hate all the AI assistants and chatbots and things that are like, for me, before I contact customer service or anyone ever, I've already looked through all the options. I've searched for all the instructions. I've tried everything that can be from their database or from the instructions in like how to do things. And then when you contact them, the first questions is like, have you restarted your computer? Which makes no sense. So the AI just goes through all the same things again that I've already went through, and getting to an actual person is just way too hard. And I think that will at some point, like, businesses will understand that the better customer experience is actually humans than AI.
Although I have had a good chatbot experience recently. I can't remember if I talked about a negative chatbot experience on the podcast before, but I did have one with this particular organization, which is a UK high street bank. I'm not going to name them. I'd had a bad experience with the chatbot, but recently I had a good experience with the chatbot. I actually got my issue resolved without me having to talk to anybody. And I'll tell you what the issue was.
Their model.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. But I accidentally left some cash in the cash machine when I took it out. So I put my card in, put my PIN in, put the amount in, took my card, walked off, left the cash. And apparently, if you do that, the cash should go back into the machine if the next person hasn't noticed and taken your cash. But I was able to successfully raise an ATM dispute and have that resolved without talking to anybody, just by searching for it in the chatbot. So that was pretty cool.
Modern problems to old people's solutions.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, scattiness. Thankfully, it was only 40 English pounds. It wasn't a larger amount, but still, to just walk off without it was rather annoying. But there we go. So,
I do take one exception to this article back on Message briefly. It jumps around all over the place because Amazon's AWS Cloud Computing Unit cuts hundreds of jobs, right? It talks about Amazon and AWS somewhat interchangeably here, which I don't think is fair. So Amazon has 1.6 million people working for it. Cool. AWS has cut a few hundred jobs. Those are two very separate pieces of information, because hundreds of thousands of those 1.6 million people working for Amazon will be in logistics and distribution, and that number is utterly irrelevant to the scale of the layoffs, as far as I'm concerned, right? AWS still employs hundreds of thousands of people, so a few hundred people is still drop in the bucket. But those numbers are not. It's a little bit disingenuous, I find, and I would expect better from Reuters. Let's be honest here.
Well, there we go. John railing on Reuters. You heard it here first.
That's an episode title.
Absolutely, yeah. But on that note, we have reached the end of our time for this episode, season 4, episode 29 of Logicast. So if you are still listening, thank you very much for listening. If you have enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and tell your friends. We are available to download from wherever you download your podcasts. And if you'd like to see Nicholas sporting his wonderful gold jacket, you can check us out on our YouTube channel. So again, thank you, John, for your insights as always. Thank you, Nicholas, for coming back and joining us for a second time. Hopefully it won't be your last. It's always good fun to hear your insights as well. So thank you again for joining us. And thank you for listening. We will see you again next time.